Trisha loved their new home. It wasn't big or fancy, but it was theirs. Nestled amidst fields of swaying sugarcane, the old house felt peaceful. She loved watching the sun rise over the fields each morning, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Her older brother Marco, not so much. He missed their friends in the city, but Trisha could already tell this place held a different kind of magic. Their parents too seemed content. They spent their days tending to a small vegetable garden and chatting with the occasional neighbor who passed by. The air felt cleaner here, the pace of life slower. It was a welcome change from the hustle and bustle of city life they had left behind. At night, the family gathered in the living room, the only sounds the chirping of crickets and the distant croaking of frogs. One particularly clear night, Trisha lay in bed, gazing out her window at the star-filled sky. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the mango tree outside, creating a soothing melody. Just as she was drifting off to sleep, she heard it, a faint sound, like children laughing in the distance. Trisha sat up in bed, straining to hear. The laughter was gone. She told herself it was just her imagination, the wind playing tricks on her. She lay back down, pulling her blanket closer. But a shiver ran down her spine, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. The next morning, Trisha hesitated to mention the laughter to her family. They were having breakfast, her mother humming happily as she fried rice, her father reading the newspaper, Marco grumbling about missing his video games. They seemed so normal, so untroubled. She didn't want to spoil their good mood. As the days passed, Trisha convinced herself that she had imagined the laughter. It was probably just the stress of moving, she thought. But then, a few nights later, she heard it again. This time it was closer, clearer. A chorus of high-pitched giggles echoing through the stillness of the night. Trisha's heart pounded in her chest. She threw off her blankets and crept to the window. The sugarcane field stretched out before her, bathed in the silvery light of the moon. Everything was still. There was no one there. She scanned the field, her eyes searching the shadows. She could have sworn the laughter had come from just beyond the mango tree. Fear gnawed at the edges of her mind. She knew she hadn't imagined it this time. The laughter was too real, too close. Something was out there, something unseen, and it was laughing. The laughter became a nightly occurrence. Sometimes it was faint, a distant murmur carried on the wind. Other times it was loud and clear, as if the unseen children were playing right outside her window. Trisha began to dread the night. She would lie awake, her body tense, listening for the first telltale giggle. Sleep became a distant memory. Her dreams were plagued by shadowy figures and disembodied laughter. During the day, she was tired and irritable. Her parents noticed her change in demeanor but attributed it to the challenges of adjusting to their new surroundings. One night, Trisha thought she heard something more than laughter. It was a whisper, soft and low but unmistakable. She couldn't make out the words, but the voice sounded young, playful. She held her breath, her body trembling. The whisper came again, closer this time. It was definitely a child's voice, and it was saying her name. Terror gripped Trisha's heart. She wanted to scream, to run to her parents' room, but she couldn't move. She was paralyzed with fear. Then, as suddenly as it had started, the whispering stopped. The laughter too was gone. Silence descended upon the house, heavy and oppressive. Section 4. A shared unease. Trisha knew she couldn't keep it to herself any longer. The next morning, she worked up the courage to confide in her mother. She found her in the kitchen, humming to herself as she kneaded dough. Trisha hesitated, then blurted out, "Mama, I keep hearing things at night." Her mother paused, her hands still covered in flour. "What kind of things, Anak?" she asked gently. Trisha took a deep breath. Laughter, children laughing, and sometimes whispering. Her mother frowned. "Are you sure, Trisha? Maybe it's just the wind." Trisha shook her head. "No, Mama, it's not the wind, it's too real." That night her mother promised to stay with her. They lay together in Trisha's bed, the silence punctuated by the chirping of crickets. Just when Trisha was beginning to relax, she heard it again. The laughter, faint at first, but growing louder. Her mother stiffened beside her. "Do you hear that?" Trisha whispered. Her mother nodded, her eyes wide with fear. The laughter filled the room, echoing in their ears. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. Her mother didn't say anything, but Trisha could tell that she was shaken. For the first time, Trisha didn't feel so alone. Her mother believed her. They were in this together. Section 5. Ailing Marit's Tale. The following day, Trisha and her mother decided to seek the advice of their neighbor, Ailing Maritz. Ailing Maritz was an elderly woman who had lived in the village her entire life. She was known for her wisdom and her knowledge of local law. They found her tending to her herb garden, her wrinkled face shaded by a wide-brimmed hat. Trisha's mother explained their predicament, her voice trembling slightly as she described the laughter and the whispers. Ailing Maritz listened patiently, her dark eyes filled with a knowing sadness. When Trisha's mother was finished, Ailing Maritz sighed. "There is a story," she said slowly, "a very sad story." She invited them to sit with her on her porch, and as the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the fields, Ailing Maritz told them about the fire. It had happened many years ago, long before Trisha was born. A daycare center had once stood on the very land where their house now stood. One afternoon, a fire broke out, trapping the children and their caregivers inside. Many perished in the blaze. "It is said," Ailing Maritz whispered, her voice barely audible above the chirping of crickets, "that the spirits of the children still linger here, unable to find peace." Trisha felt a shiver run down her spine. So it was true. The laughter, the whispers, they were real. And they belonged to the ghosts of children who had died a tragic death.